What's your most bone-chilling, we need to leave now moment? I was at a family gathering, basically a reunion, but just for family within reasonable driving distance, probably 30 people altogether. It was at a county park on a small lake with some grills and buildings, just an empty hall with some picnic tables inside. You could rent for this kind of stuff. The sky started darkening as a storm was approaching. All the coolers, chairs, balls, and other kids' toys, etc. were brought into the building anticipating the rain. The plan was to wait it out, since afternoon showers are common just about every day in the summer. Something in the air didn't feel or smell right, even though it appeared to be just a regular afternoon storm. Hair on my neck was standing up, and I was in full flight mode. Can't really describe it. The feeling in the pit of my stomach can only be described as absolute dread. I told my wife to take my daughter and get in the car. My brother-in-law took one look at my face and said, "What's wrong?" Apparently, I was white as a ghost. It wasn't even raining yet. I was in full-on panic, yelling for everyone to leave. Something isn't right. No one else was that worried, mostly concerned with how I was acting. I went out to the car, and as soon as I was about to turn the key, the tornado sirens went off. We were not far from wherever they put those, or they are just stupidly loud, because it was deafeningly loud. Now the rest of the family is pouring out of the building to their cars, kids crying, and I look across the lake, maybe a few miles in the distance, and see a funnel cloud. Got the heck out of there, as did everyone else. The building we had rented for this family barbecue thing was completely annihilated. Literally just a slab of concrete and a crap ton of debris all around. It was hit dead on by an EF3. Now I know everybody was thinking, geez, what's wrong with Phil? He's freaking out. But guess what? OP, or Phil, as I like to call him, had the sixth sense moment, like right there when it had to happen. Because what if he didn't say anything? Would they have been able to get out in time? You don't know. I don't know, it doesn't say. But I'm just saying, aren't we all glad that he did? Surfing a fairly secluded reef break offshore across a channel, this place is in a very southern state of Australia. Overcast weather, but a still amazing day for the waves. I was surfing with only one other guy. We were trading waves and getting to know each other in between sets. I asked what he did for a living, and he was a marine biologist. We both recently moved to the area and were new to surfing it as well. Despite it being extremely good surf, after 40 minutes he says, "I don't like this, something feels off, I feel like I'm being watched, like I'm bait." I didn't want to leave as it was excellent surf, but this guy was a marine biologist, so I took his instinct as a sign to play it safe. We paddled back across the deep channel together as quickly as we could without panicking and walked the 15 minutes trek back to the car park, talking crap the whole way. I got his mobile number for future surfs together given how small town it is here, and not knowing anyone. We noticed a 15-foot inflatable boat pull up near the reef and hang around for a bit without much thought. Later that night, while looking at my social media, I read about 3 fishermen at the same location we were at that morning at the same time in their boat as they pulled up to check their cray pots on the beach side of the reef. They were circled twice by a great white shark that was as big as their boat. That guy most likely saved me from a horrible experience that day. I messaged him with a link to the Facebook page with the comments regarding their experience. Chills ran through my body for a good 20 minutes. He was adamant he felt the presence of something, and he was right. I am not going to lie, I too felt the chills while reading this. Like, OP was super lucky he was with that marine biologist who got his spidey senses all a-tingling. I'm like, super happy that happened, but like, talk about a gut feeling being on point. Glad he decided to leave because, I mean, the guy's a marine biologist. I mean, why not? You better leave, just play it safe, live another day. Instead of trading, oh, look at that, you lost a leg, I lost an arm. Same shark, yeah, same shark. Glad you didn't have that kind of talk. I was around 12 or so and my mom left to run an errand, leaving me alone. Very soon after she left, the doorbell rang. This was weird because we lived on a hill with only 2 neighbors. We all kept to ourselves and we just didn't get random visitors. Thanks to some conveniently placed picture frames, I could see outside the door without being seen. I look out and see a young man I don't recognize. He's dressed in a t-shirt and jeans and something just feels off. So I ignore him and wait for him to leave, but he doesn't. He lingers and starts smoking. Again, this is an isolated hill. I'm alone and now I'm getting scared. I go and hide and plan to wait for my mom, except she just left, had a few errands to run, and I couldn't reach the phone without the guy seeing me. As I'm trying to figure out what to do, my mom comes home. She runs in and asks if I'm okay. Apparently, she got this random go home now urge. She hadn't even run her first errand yet, but turned around immediately. Found the guy in our yard and asked what he needed. I guess he muttered something, about looking for someone or something to that effect, and my mom told him to leave. Apparently, he was acting very strangely and made my mom nervous. To this day, I have no idea what he wanted and no idea how my mom knew to come home, but I am very grateful she did. You know, mom's intuition is a very weird and very real thing. Like, there she was probably thinking about grabbing groceries or whatever, and then suddenly that instinct, that superhero level gut feeling just goes off telling her, hey, you need to head back now. And thank the good Lord she did, because who knows what would have happened. And like sometimes, you know, you get a little nudge and it's, you know, probably a good idea to just listen to that nudge, because if she didn't, who knows what would have happened. Sitting in my friend's backyard with their 2 kids, my husband, and another friend, enjoying pizza that my host made. It was a beautiful, clear day with no real wind. We are having a great time, just out of the pool and hungry for pizza, when I suddenly felt on edge. I looked straight at the kids about 8 or 10 or so years old and just said, "Get in the house." We all scrambled, and a second later we heard creaking, and maybe 5 seconds after it started, this big branch fell off of their pine tree onto the table where we were sitting. Thankfully, no one was hurt besides having to pick pine needles out of our pizza. I can only assume that I subconsciously heard the branch starting to give. When we were in our teens, my sister and I were walking our dog in our local forest area very close to our childhood home. We were about to leave and had just clipped our dog back up when a lady appeared out of nowhere and started chatting to us. She was odd. She told us her dog would love some socialization with our dog, and we could go back with her for 5 minutes. What I hadn't clocked, but my sister had, was that her dog was nowhere to be seen. The lady was almost rounding us up to head back towards the forest when, little did I know, my sister had spotted a van out of the corner of her eye. I was still oblivious at this point. Suddenly my sister screams, "Dad!" and to our luck, my dad had finished work and was now out on a run. He starts waving and running towards us, and as we turn back around, the lady had vanished. My sister looks back over at the van and sees the lady closing the passenger door and it speeding off. Dog still nowhere to be seen. I believe we were minutes away from abduction. It was divine intervention that my dad happened to be at the right place at the right time. My brother and I were kids, playing hide and seek in the front yard of our house. My brother was supposed to be counting and finding me, but he was taking forever, so I peeked around the side of the house to see what was taking so long. He lost interest in the game and was standing near the front gate, which led to the street. As I'm looking, I see a brown car pull up with 2 men inside. The car was not familiar, and neither were the men. They both got out of the car and approached my brother. They started asking him questions and moving closer to him. I remember feeling panicked. I had learned about stranger danger in school and knew this was not right. I ran around the side of the house and flew through the back door and screamed, "Someone is trying to kidnap Steve." My dad did not hesitate. He got up and flew through the front door. When the men saw my dad coming through the door, they bolted and peeled out. From that day forward, we were not allowed to play in the front yard anymore. It is a really scary memory for me. A friend called me and said, "There's a wildfire 8 miles away. Can you help me move my horses?" So I drove down. She was wrong. It's 8 miles by car, under 2 as the crow flies. We got the first set of horses out and down to another farm. The second set I'm working on, and suddenly things get quiet. It's as if the world stopped for a minute. I look at the horse, and the horse looks like it's ready to run. I take a deep breath, and suddenly the noise comes back. The wind is hot as fire and the light changes. I told Sherry, the girl I'm helping, we gotta go now. No time to shove the horses into the trailer. They're smart enough to survive, and I let them loose. We run to the truck, and the barn is already on fire. Then we get in the truck and notice the fire past us and is blocking the road. So we jump out and ran to a small pond for the horses. And we dive in, hoping the fire doesn't burn us. It was about 20 minutes of heck. It might have been longer, I don't know. It was insanely scary, hot, and loud. We got rescued by the fire department's water-dropping helicopter. It landed in the field and pulled us in. We got lucky. The truck was burned to the frame and the horse Sherry let go died. The one I let go survived but was burned. That's most likely the scariest moment. I was freshly married in my early 20s, living in Fallbrook, California. My husband, X, was a Marine and was at work. I was driving home from visiting family further south. In order to get into Fallbrook, you have to travel along this long, dark, and windy street called Mission Road. It's already super dark at night, about 11 p.m., and it's a little foggy as well. I'm slowing down and coming around this slight bend of the road, and all of a sudden, the hair goes up on my neck, and I feel incredibly anxious. About 5 seconds later, a young woman jumps out of the brush directly ahead of me, maybe 50 feet away on the left-hand side of the road, while waving her arms in the air, gesturing frantically for me to pull over. I swerved a bit to the right, slowing down even further, but I did not stop. She was young, maybe early 20s or even late teens, and a little dirty, and I was immediately conflicted over continuing to drive. But something told me not to stop under any circumstances. I got further up the road, slowed a little more, and dialed 911 with one shaky hand. The dispatcher said she sent someone to check, but encouraged me not to feel bad. Apparently, there had already been calls about this girl over the last hour, and they were unable to find her when the police showed up. I heard a few weeks later about some carjacking robbery attempts in the area. Very relieved, I listened to my instincts that night. I live in an area where tornadoes are not common. One day there was a big storm coming. Weather Channel is giving a tornado watch, which in the past I never put much stock into. I don't know why, but this time was different. I was sitting in my recliner with my German Shepherd at my feet, watching the news closely. I thought for some reason I should wrangle my cats and put them into the carriers in the basement. Worst case scenario, I figure nothing happens and they spent 30 minutes in their carriers, no big deal. I go back to my recliner to continue watching the news when the sky suddenly turns green. Everything's wrong and surreal. I tell my wife to get in the basement, and I pick up my Shepherd and carry all 105 pounds of him kicking and screaming down the narrow basement steps. My feet hit the basement floor and the pressure suddenly drops. We hear a thunderous roar and the windows upstairs shatter. It felt like an eternity in the 30 seconds it lasted. Then there was nothing. I creep upstairs and peek out the basement door to find every window blown out. The recliner where I'd been sitting not 3 minutes prior was completely covered in shards of glass, which I would have taken to the face if I hadn't hauled butt. It turned out the tornado went directly over our house. Windows were destroyed, roof was destroyed, fence completely gone, porch ripped from the house, trees down, absolutely everywhere. I'll never forget how something in my gut said to take it seriously, and listening to it saved my life.